Hey everyone, I finished watching the next Wild Force episode, Sealing the Nexus. This is the last episode before the two-part finale, so that's pretty cool. So anyway, starts off with Master Org resurrecting Nazor, Retinax, and Mandalok as loyal drones. I guess they don't have their memories fully intact. I don't know, that seems to be a running thing when, like, villains get revived, as they're not quite as strong as before, and also they don't seem to remember anything. You'd think Mandalok would remember Master Org, kind of killing him. Maybe he just doesn't hold a grudge. So then, let's see, Jindrax is filling in Toxica and what's been going on, and when she hears that Master Org still has the princess, she realizes that Master Org still has her necklace, which he can use to gain new powers or something. And then there's also this whole thing about the Nexus, which apparently is the doorway to and from the Org's lair. Have they ever called it Nexus before? Like, I'm trying to think back through every episode. I just watched every episode of Wild Force over the last bunch of weeks. Was it ever called Nexus? I don't think it was ever called, or maybe it was called Nexus before. I don't remember. I don't know. They make a big deal out of it like it's something we should all know. Maybe, like, I don't know. Usually, whenever in the past I've watched Wild Force, I usually just marathon the whole thing. Or at least when I got the DVDs, that's what I did. So I don't know. This whole Nexus thing just kind of felt, I don't know, I just kind of overlooked it, I guess. I never really put too much thought into it. So whatever. Meanwhile, Toxica goes to the Rangers and tells them what Master Org is planning, and they agree to work together. The Rangers split up to find these pillars of light shooting up from statues. Okay. Each statue is guarded by one of Master Org's resurrected generals. And then meanwhile, back at the Org lair, we see Master Org conjure up this Org heart thing. This weird CGI thingy. Oh, and there's an interesting thing. There's a scene where, let's see, the heart thing is like CGI, and he like picks it up, and so there's a CGI thing that's like tracked in his hand as he's moving his hand, and it looks way better than the recent Pinocchio movie that just came out. Like, in the new Pinocchio remake, there's a scene where Geppetto picks up Pinocchio, and Pinocchio, like, kinda, like, wobbles a little bit while he's being held, and it's weird because it's from the back. Like, couldn't they just have, like, a wooden model of Pinocchio? It's a Disney movie. Surely somewhere around they have a wooden model of Pinocchio to put in Geppetto's hands, right? So anyway, the Org heart thing, just, I don't know, it made me impressed that, oh, you know, I never noticed that it was CGI when he was holding it, but it's CGI because he has to eat it. Was one of the writers watching Jason Goes to Hell or something, and they saw the scene where the examiner guy is, like, looking over Jason's body parts, and then the heart starts beating, and then he looks at it, and he's, like, hypnotized by some otherworldly force, picks it up, and then starts eating it. Master Org doesn't, like, dig into it like that guy did, though. He just kind of... I don't know, maybe he didn't want to chew it, because, it seems like chewing it would kind of ruin, you know, this thing you just made. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too much about this silly thing. So, meanwhile, anyway, the Rangers are fighting the resurrected generals, and that's kind of cool to see. To see Retinax back, especially, because he hasn't been around for a while. Nazor, I liked Nazor. Like, he's not a favorite villain of mine. Even in this season, he's not a favorite. Mandalok, it's kinda cool to see him back, even though, like, it's not like he was gone for long. So, anyway, Jindrax and Toxica find the doorway to the Nexus. The Rangers gain the upper hand and destroy the statues, allowing Jindrax and Toxica to get into the Nexus. Oh, because the Nexus was had a force field put around it, and the way to get rid of the force field was to destroy the statues or something. I don't really know why all of this was necessary. I'm guessing it was a thing in the Japanese version in Gao Ranger. That's usually, like, if there's something weird in Power Rangers that just kind of comes out of nowhere, a safe bet is that the Sentai did it. So then, let's see. The Rangers all team up against the Generals, and there's a really interesting thing Nazor says, where he says that they can't be defeated because we're ghosts. No, I'm pretty sure they're physical, like, beings. Like, you're not, like, undead from the spirit world. You're brought back to life. This isn't a situation like, crap. I was just remembering there was some other episode where they actually did, oh, was it Lightspeed, where they brought, like, the demons back from, like, the underworld of the demons or whatever, and they couldn't be destroyed because they were already dead? I don't think this is a situation like that. So anyway, Toxica and Jindrax find Princess Shayla, they free her, they're running through the lair, and they find Master Org, and this is a cool thing where we see Master Org, like, meditating, and he starts to hover, which is obviously done with wires, but it looks cool, and you can't see the wires, so it's still a cool effect. And it kind of reminds me of Master Kaku back in Die Ranger, and interestingly, oh wait, yeah, Master Kaku was in Die Ranger, right? Now I'm trying to remember. I haven't watched Die Ranger in a long time. I really want to watch it again. Anyway, I'm pretty sure there's a similar scene in there where he's meditating and he's, like, floating up. Or maybe I'm thinking of Mask Man. That one also had, like, scenes where people meditate and they're, like, floating. I think Mask Man. Anyway, Master Org's outfit came from a villain in Die Ranger, and I'm wondering if this is excuse me, based on any similar scene in there, or if this was based on a scene in Gao Ranger. I don't think it was based on a scene in Gao Ranger. It's not ringing any bells. Meanwhile, Die Ranger, I am kind of remembering some stuff that happened in Die Ranger. Anyway, my notes turned off. Okay, there they are. The weird thing that happens here is Master Org, as he's hovering up his body, begins to dissolve into sand. Alright, sure, why not? It's weird, it works, I guess. It's a bizarre thing that just comes right out of nowhere, and Shayla, Jindrax, and Toxica are like, huh. Okay, well, we gotta get out of here. So then they get out, and then, let's see, the Nexus closes behind them, and then, meanwhile, we get to see what the Rangers and the Generals are doing, and there's this really cool thing where the General Orgs all take their weapons, and they put their weapons together, just like how the Rangers combine their weapons, and they make their own, final strike weapon, and it's really cool. That's a neat thing that I kind of wish they did more of in Power Rangers, where there's some kind of, like, parallel that the villains do to imitate the Rangers. It's a neat dynamic. So anyway, the Rangers counter with a Jungle Blaster, and it's stronger than their thing, and they blow them up, they're gone. Them being ghosts or whatever didn't do anything, Nazor, you idiot. Let's see, The Rangers meet up with Jindrax, Toxica, and Shayla, and Jindrax and Toxica call a truce with the Rangers, and then leave to find their own way in the world, and that's the end. So, this is a really cool episode. I've always really liked this episode. This one and the last one, Fishing for... or, was that the last one, Fishing for a Friend? Yep, yeah, it was. Good string of episodes. So anyway, Jindrax and Toxica get a really well-done departure here. Their story ends surprisingly happy for former villains. Most seasons, if the villain, like, even if the villains, like, turn good, they don't really get a super happy ending, or even if, like, one of the things I was thinking of a lot was Lightspeed Rescue. Diabolico doesn't really turn good. He doesn't join with the Rangers. He kind of just allies himself with them temporarily because he doesn't like Banshira more than he doesn't like the Rangers. I'm trying to think any other time where, like, villains turned good. Like, up until In Space, there really wasn't a whole lot of villains genuinely turning good, aside from Astronema. A bunch of villains kind of just got forced into turning good when Zordon's Wave happened. Lost Galaxy had Villamax, who was never really a bad guy, exactly. In the first place, he was just some guy who happened to meet up with Trakina. And, oh, I guess Magna Defender could kinda count, although he wasn't really a bad guy either. He was just someone who made some bad choices. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Back to this thing. It's really cool to see, like, reformed villains. Also, one of the interesting things, Jindrax and Toxica don't turn human. That's another weird thing I noticed in the past seasons, is reformed villains would turn human. Like, in Zordon's Wave, a bunch of, let's see, Zed, Rita, Divatox, they turn into normal humans. And it's just kind of weird. And then in Time Force, Rancic reforms, and then in Reinforcements from the Future, he turns human. Which just, I don't know, kind of felt unnecessary to me, but alright. Oh, now I'm thinking, when he turned human, what about Nadira? Because Nadira's a mutant. Does she still get to be a mutant? Whatever. Back to this thing. Yeah, they don't turn human, which is weird, because they have human actors. In that very first episode of Wild Force, we see them in human disguise. It would be kind of a neat thing to see that again, but I also kind of like them just staying Orgs. So, out of all the characters in Wild Force, Jindrax and Toxica, I think, go through the most changes. The Rangers are a bit static throughout the series. Their personalities are pretty much unchanged. There's a few little things, like Taylor loosens up a little bit and learns how to get along with other people a little bit more. Let's see, Shayla, Merrick, Master Org all pretty much are the same personalities and motive. Merrick goes through a little bit of change as he learns to trust the Rangers and forgive himself. Is an important change, but doesn't, like, shift, like, his character as much as Jindrax and Toxica's changes did. Jindrax, it's really interesting to look at the way his character evolves throughout the series. He starts off as this manic bad guy. He kind of reminds me of Chop Top in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Or a cross between Elgar and Lokai. Elgar, like, at the beginning of Turbo, was just completely nuts. Later on, he becomes just kind of goofy. And Lokai is, like, a super loyal character. Not a whole lot going on with him, but he's, like, a super loyal character. Kind of similar to Jindrax. Toxica is quite a bit smarter than Jindrax is at the beginning. And, let's see, I couldn't really think of any villains to compare her to. She's a pretty unique and special villain in Wild Force. There's not really any character we've had like her so far in Power Rangers. And I really like at the beginning when she's suspicious of Master Org, and that, like, builds as the season goes on, and it, like, kind of ingrains itself in her character. She remains a suspicious character who doesn't always quite know if she can trust whoever's in charge. And then, let's see, by the end of the series, Jindrax has a better grasp of the world around him, and probably wouldn't be as trusting of Master Org at this point. Like, if he was where he is at the point he is at the end of the season, when him and Toxica went to meet with Master Org, he'd probably be right along with Toxica saying, I don't trust him because he's weird. Let's see. And Toxica is another interesting character because the evolution she went through, by the end of the series, she no longer feels the need to serve a master to feel importance. And that was kind of revealed back when she was trying to kidnap Shayla, and Shayla says, why are you doing this? And Toxica doesn't really know how to respond. They ordered me to. Let's see, oh yeah, when Jindrax and Toxica make peace with the Rangers, I really like how Taylor is kind of confused at Jindrax saying, well, Yellow Ranger, looks like our famous rivalry is over. And she's like, Yeah. I love that. It was a kind of a deep cut thing way early on in the season. I think Jindrax says the Yellow Ranger is my rival, and it never really goes anywhere, and that is kind of the point of the line here, and I love it. It's awesome. So, let's see. Looking at my... Oh, yeah. One of the really cool things, Shayla finally reunites with the Rangers. That's awesome. I kind of wish there were some more normal episodes in between this and the finale. Though I don't quite know what normal would be, because Jindrax and Toxica wouldn't be there, Master Org wouldn't be there, whatever. I don't know, I just kind of wanted some more character episodes from Wild Force, because, let's see, I mean, we got a decent number of episodes. We got character episodes, and we get the whole Zenaku thing, then it goes back to character stuff for a while, and then there's a bunch of, like, team-ups and stuff, and Animus comes in and screws everything up, and then he gets lost, and then, let's see, there's the whole thing with Mandalok, and, the last bunch of episodes, and, yeah. I kind of wish the character stuff from the beginning had lasted a little bit more. Like, I would have preferred more character-focused episodes over Animus. And actually, Zenaku also. Not all of Zenaku, because Zenaku was important, and I like Zenaku, but I feel like he kind of overstayed his welcome a bit. I feel like they could have cut his stuff down a little bit. Let's see. Looking through my notes here. Oh yeah, the next episode preview shows a quick clip of Master Org growing into his final form, and Jindrax and Toxica are on the ground, and they see this. But in the final version of that episode, I think they're cut out. And I read this on Ranger Wiki also. It says they're not there. They reshot it, or they removed them in the English version or something. Anyway, it's kind of a weird thing. It's only there because it's in Gal Ranger, and I guess they didn't feel the need to edit the clip for a next episode preview. But I don't really think it would have been an error or anything. I think it would have been neat to have Jindrax and Toxica make a tiny little cameo in one of those last episodes. Let's see. Oh yeah, Jindrax and Toxica never received any kind of follow-up after this. They're still in the real world. Presumably, even, like, in Dino Fury, and next year in Cosmic Fury, they're still gonna be wandering around on Earth, as far as we know. And they've never received any kind of follow-up. Now, there was an interesting thing. I read, some stuff from Amit Bhowmik, who was the story editor for Wild Force and the writer for the team-up episodes. Apparently, he did have plans for Jindrax and Toxica. The next season, which would have been a Hurricaneger adaptation, if production had kept, like, or if it had stayed in Los Angeles, if it had kept all the writers, apparently his idea was the team-up would have Jindrax and Toxica return as members of a traveling circus, or they'd be running the circus themselves. I think that would be a really cool idea. But unfortunately, none of that happened, because Disney canceled the show, Doug Sloan and Ann Austin brought it back, moved everything to New Zealand, and only the stunt crew came with them, unfortunately. So, any ideas the writers had for the future were just completely dropped. Disney wasn't going to pay to bring the actors over, or even the suits over. According to Greg Aranowitz, apparently a bunch of the suits were just left in Los Angeles for a couple of years. So, yeah, Wild Force is almost over with, and I'm going to check my notes real quick here, see if there's anything else I wanted to say. Okay. Nothing else, so that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.